Hi, I'm Kristen Vibas. I'm an ELD teacher living and working in Northern Virginia. I've been an ELD teacher since 2005, and I am the face behind A Walk in the Chalk. I'm really excited to be here today to share with you a topic that is near and dear to my heart: independent classroom activities for newcomers. Sometimes we have students who don't speak the language yet, and finding activities that they can work on, meaningful activities that they can work on successfully and independently, can be a challenge. But I have found a few tried and true activities that I implement with all of my newcomers, and I'd like to share those ideas with you today. So let's not wait any longer. Here are my top resources for independent activities. So the first thing that I want to give newcomers is books. I want to give them books in their hands and provide daily opportunities to look at them, listen to them, and read them. So that is something that we can do right away. There are books online. We want to give them books at varying levels, and we want to, if possible, give them some books in their home language if they're literate in their home language. These are some great websites that are free. I put my students on these. Unite for Literacy has amazing nonfiction books at a lower level. They also can listen to the books, and there are options to listen to narrations in many other languages. The second one is Epic Books. If you are not familiar or you don't have an account yet for Epic, I highly recommend it. Each student of mine has an account on here, and they have a huge selection of books to choose from. Again, they can read them, they can listen to them, there are videos that they can watch. Lots of great stuff on that website. And then the last one I've included is Storyline Online. I'll be honest, I don't use this a lot with my students, but they have great books that are read aloud by actors, and many of the book's illustrations are animated. So it's very engaging to listen to and to watch, and it's just a great opportunity to listen to books being read fluently in English. Now, some subscription reading websites that I also can recommend. I put my kids on Raz Kids. Each student has their own account, so they can use independent class time to listen to books and read books at their level. There's a motivation to earn stars with each book, so that's something that my students enjoy. Tumble Books is another great website. The books are not leveled, but there's a huge variety, and they can listen to the books as well. And then Mayan has a huge selection, and there are also books in Spanish on that website. So reading books online, as well as, if it's possible, to provide students books in their native language. We want them to continue reading, right? Their reading can't stop because they're learning a new language. So putting books in their native language in their hand allows them to continue to read. And then you want to give them some books also that are leveled. So give them some books that they can read independently. Those are going to be lower level books, but we want to make sure that they look age appropriate. So pass on the books that have teddy bears, things like that. We don't want to embarrass our older students. Try to give them books at a lower level that don't look so babyish. And put in some books at some higher levels. We don't have to restrict them to books at those beginning levels. We want them engaged in books. And then this would be a great time to reread the books that they've read with you during guided reading. It's a great way for them to practice those familiar books. So I would highly recommend that as well. We're moving on next to my second suggestion. We want to give them vocabulary building activities. That's what they need. They need to build their vocabulary so that they can comprehend listening skills, and speaking and reading and writing, and all of those skills depend on vocabulary. Now, I will tell you this, that pre-teaching these activities is key to the success. I wanted to share with you one of my resources. These are vocabulary workbooks that were made for beginning English learners, and it's a great activity for students to do during independent class time. And my students love these books, and they're often asking to work in them in times that are not independent class time. But it's a great way to build basic vocabulary. You want to pre-teach those activities, of course. You want to pre-teach those expectations before we send them off independently. Here are some pictures of some other ways that they can build vocabulary during independent class time. Pick some vocabulary words from the books that you're reading together. We always want to focus on vocabulary when we're in a reading lesson with them, a guided reading lesson. So pick out those vocabulary words and have them go illustrate, copy, label. You can see on the right-hand side here, I'm using the Kim strategy, modified Kim strategy with this student where they have the keyword and they have the memory clue and then they have the sentence. The sentence came from the book. So they are copying and then they can go back and reread their writing. That's a great way for them to use independent class time, illustrating and labeling words from their guided reading lesson. How about throwing in some content vocabulary words, having them label a diagram or an image using their class notes and a word bank? Of course, you want them to be familiar with this beforehand, but here's an example of an illustration of a learned content area concept. The student illustrated weathering and erosion cartoon to demonstrate his understanding. So it was a great time for him to not only show his artistic abilities, but also to show his understanding of that content topic. So drawing, labeling, things like that, content area vocabulary words. I mentioned earlier the Kim strategy. This is a great vocabulary strategy, and it is keyword, information. This is kid-friendly information, a memory clue, which is an image or an illustration, and then a short sentence. And oftentimes with my newcomers, I will do the keyword in the information whole group, and then I will have them go and draw an illustration independently. And they can work with a buddy even to write a simple sentence. They can even use their home language tools to do that as well. So I teach my students how to do this strategy in their notebook. And so for my newcomers, I have them do keyword, information, and memory clue. So throwing in some content area vocabulary is also a great idea. You can have a familiar graphic organizer. It must be familiar. We cannot give them something unfamiliar and expect them to do it successfully on their own. Give them a familiar graphic organizer and modify it. Take out the pieces that require more of a language load. So I would give them this and I would say, I want you to write the word. If you can write the meaning, great. Maybe it's already on the word wall card and they can copy it. Draw a picture, possibly give another example. So depending on your students and what you feel they are able to do, this would be another suggestion. Providing home language supports during this time is also a great idea. They should have a bilingual dictionary and they should be taught how to use it. Provide them access to a translating app. My students have laptops in the classroom, but I also give my newcomers an iPad so it can sit on their desktop and they can use Google Translate throughout the day. If you have a classroom buddy who can speak the same language and have them help translate, that would be another way to support them during this time. Another opportunity for them to work independently is with word study. They need practice with weekly word patterns. So I always do word study with my students. I set them up on Mondays with their word list, and then throughout the week, they have independent activities to do in their gen ed classrooms. For many years, I used this resource, Words Their Way, and I used the letter name book. And I would give them a sort each Monday, and we would explicitly learn the spelling pattern, the meaning of words, and the pronunciation of those words. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they had activities to do. And it takes about a week or two for my students to learn those activities and my expectations for them. But you can see on the right-hand side that is an example of their independent activities. So this would be a typical weekly word list. And then on Tuesday in their gen ed classroom during independent class time, they would do ABC order. And they have this in their notebook to reference in case they forget, or in case their gen ed teacher says, what are you supposed to be doing today? Let me see inside your notebook. They can check and see that they are supposed to be doing rainbow words on Wednesday. On Thursday, they're illustrating some of their words and then writing short sentences for the others. So that's a great way to incorporate independent activities. When we went into virtual learning, I wanted to figure out a way to continue doing our weekly word study because I felt it was so important. I ended up changing the format to a digital format. So it's all the same concept and the same structure. It's just in a digital format, and it's assigned through an online learning platform. I used Google Classroom. This year we're using Schoology, so that's the way that I'm assigning it. So every Monday I give my students a new spelling pattern. This is an example of short A versus long A. And they know on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, they have independent activities in their gen ed classroom. And it's the same as the paper pencil. This is Tuesday's slide. They put their words in ABC order. They practice typing their words, and then they build their words using these movable letters. On Wednesday, they're doing this slide, and on Thursday, they do this slide where they are matching vocabulary words with pictures, saying the words and then using them in short phrases or short sentences. Very simple sentences to start with. And then on Friday, I like to do this together, parts of speech, so they can learn the different components of English language. But these are all done independently in their classroom. One of the things that we need to do to set our students up for success is to provide them with a visual schedule so that they know exactly what to do, and the gen ed teacher knows exactly what they're supposed to do. And so I teach my students that on Mondays, when you're working independently, you're to do this activity, vocabulary workbook. And I expect 2 to 3 pages done nice and neatly. And when you're done with that, you can get on your computer and go to Imagine Language and Literacy. This is a program our county has provided this year, and perhaps your county has a similar program. That would be a great time for students to log on and practice some of their literacy skills. On Tuesdays, they do slide number 2 in word study, and then they can read when they're done. And reading would look like either books. I usually have a basket of books specifically for them. They can get on their RazKids or they can get on their Epic account to read. Wednesday, word study, and then Imagine Language and Literacy. Thursday, word study, and then reading. Friday, reading, and then 2 to 3 pages in their vocabulary workbook. So this keeps them on task, and it allows both the English language development teacher and the gen ed teacher to know exactly what meaningful activities our newcomers are working on during that independent class time. So remember, independent activities and expectations must be pre-taught. We want to set our students up for success, so this is the way to do it. We have to take the time to teach them. I usually give it a week, maybe even 2 whole weeks of explicitly teaching them their routine, and then I might monitor them for another week before I send them off and expect independent success. Activities should be purposeful. We're not just putting them on a computer program for the sake of putting them on something. They have to be meaningful. It gives our students exactly what they need to practice the skills that they are learning to make progress in their language development. And the third thing is the activities must support language development. So books will do that. Vocabulary building activities will do that. And spelling pattern and more vocabulary development will do that. That's why I love that word study so much, is because not only does it do spelling patterns, but it also incorporates vocabulary and writing in there. So you've got this. Start off by giving your students some books that they can listen to and read and engage themselves with. That would be my number one tip. And then find some vocabulary and some word pattern work that you could also give to them. So I am Kristen Vivas from A Walk in the Chalk. You can find me on Instagram and my blog. My blog is also A Walk in the Chalk. If you're interested in any of the resources I shared, this is the vocabulary workbook year-long bundle. They're also sold individually. This comes in both paper and digital format, so you'll get both formats with that. Or if you just want digital, there's that option too. There's also the Mega Digital Word Study Bundle you can find in my store. Or if you just want to start off with short vowels, you can do that as well. Those are all sold individually. If you would like to read more about building vocabulary using the KIM strategy, I have a blog post on that, and the KIM graphic organizer that I shared earlier is a free download in that blog post. So I thank you for listening, and I hope you found that information useful. It's so important to provide meaningful activities that our newcomers can do successfully and independently. These are just some suggestions and some tried and true activities that I've incorporated over the years. I set my students up in their gen ed classrooms with these activities and with their visual schedule. And I collaborate with the classroom teacher so that we're all in this together. Feel free to reach out to me on social media. You can find me at Instagram, A Walk in the Chalk, and my blog. And my TPT store is called Kristen Vivas. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you later. Bye.